honourable people here to fight a good fight against nasty bigots over there. Earlier today you honoured rightly people who have fought for this country. And there are people here, all of you, and people on this stage who are still fighting for this country. And one of the problems we've got, which is unusual when you're fighting for a country, is that we have to fight against our own leaders, our own establishment, our own media to fight for this country. But we will not let that stop us. And yesterday I woke up to the news that after several years, I was banned from Twitter. And I was banned from Twitter for pointing out that South Yorkshire police care more about mean tweets than they do about gang rape victims. So I will say it again, South Yorkshire police care more about tweets than they do about gang rape victims. Just like every other police force all over this country. And something called Resisting Hate, whatever that is, today said they think it's going to silence us. They really think that if they can knock us off Twitter, that it's all going to go away. That the gang rapes are all going to go away. That the Sharia law and the FGM and the child marriage and all the other grotesque things we have imported into this country are going to go away. They think that I'm the problem here. I'm the one stirring up hate. I'm the reason that almost half this country wants an end to immigration from these societies. I am not the reason. The reason people dislike Islam is because of Islam and not because of me. And we have every single reason to decide this. And we're tired of being told that something's wrong with us for opposing this. Never forget one thing. This is a battle, as always in human history. There's a battle between slavery and liberty, between freedom and totalitarianism, and between good and evil. And never ever forget which side you are on. You are the good here. You are the ones who are fighting the evil. You are the ones who are standing up for freedom. And you are the ones who are standing up for every girl who has been raped by these monsters all over this country. And I would say to South Yorkshire Police and to every other police force who did nothing, to every officer, every chief, constable, whoever they may be, they did nothing for years. I want them to know that it doesn't always come, but sometimes justice comes. And when it comes to South Yorkshire Police and the rest of the police who do nothing about these horrific crimes, when it comes, they will get a taste of what it is like to have nobody on your side. They will get a taste of what it is like to be left on their own and to rely on somebody who isn't there. Justice is coming, Sunderland, and it's coming because of you. Stay strong, keep fighting. You are on the right side of history. Thank you all very much for coming out.
Right, listen, I'm gutted that not everyone's coming out here today that was on the march. Obviously, what happened earlier has pissed a few people off, sorry about swearing. But listen, once again, we're here for you, the women and the children. The turnout today for you all was fantastic. Next up, we got Gerard Batten from UKIP speaking. Give him some applause.
Hello, Graham. It's justice for women and children. It's all about the rapes that have been going on in Roker Park.
Can I say that it's a great honour to be invited along today to speak on behalf of the Women and Children, Justice for Women and Children movement. I'd like to thank the organisers for asking me to come along. Now I've got the greatest admiration for these women who actually suffered and are standing up for themselves, standing up for other victims and working for justice on their behalf. But how did we come to be in this position in our country, which is one of the most civilised countries in the world, or was supposed to be? How did we get into this mess? Well, we can't begin to think about how we solve a problem until we understand what the causes are. Anybody that lives somewhere where these things are not part of their daily lives cannot understand what is going on. They don't know about it because it hasn't been reported over the years in the mass media. You can't hear me at the back, can you? Right, I'll shout down the microphone a bit more. Okay, if you live in a nice part of the country where this isn't happening, you wouldn't be aware of it. You wouldn't understand the horrific nature of it because it hasn't been reported over the decades, but it's starting to come out. That's because of some very brave journalists, some very brave activists, people like Tommy Robinson, for example. Somebody who campaigns for these people and puts his own life on the line. And somebody like Patrick McLaughlin, who wrote the book Easy Me, a detailed and comprehensive history of what has happened. It's only because of people like that that the general population are starting to understand what it's all about. This, in my opinion, is the biggest social scandal in English history. And this exploitation of young girls and women is something that is incomprehensible to normal people. It's not even lust or paedophilia as such. It's a kind of sexual sadism which is about destroying a person and the spirit of that person. So what is in the minds of people who are capable of these types of crimes? What makes it possible? Now, the term, when the media have described the people who are responsible, they've used the term Asian men, which is deeply insulting, quite rightly, to many men who come from the continent of Asia, who have nothing whatsoever to do with this, and their culture has nothing to do with it. Now, of course, there are plenty of rapists and paedophiles amongst the general population at large, but the overwhelming number of people who are responsible for this kind of industrialised gang rape and sexual exploitation have been proved to be Muslim or the Islamic religion. Now, no less a person than Jack Straw, the former Home Secretary, said in 2011, quote, "There is a specific problem which involves Pakistani heritage men who target vulnerable white girls." Can you imagine what would have happened if this had been organised rape by white men against Muslim girls? Do you think for a moment that the political and media establishment would not have come down on this like a ton of bricks and ended it before it even got started? Never mind cover it up for decades. The victims of this, the white girls and the Sikh girls, were supposed to be quiet so that they didn't rock the multicultural boat. Do you remember somebody saying that? And also somebody said they should keep their mouths shut for the sake of diversity. Now, why did they do that? Why did the authorities not actually try to uncover these crimes and pursue them? Well, I think it is simple fear. First of all, fear of being called racist or Islamophobe. And secondly, straightforward fear. Because the people who do this kind of things are capable of doing anything. And it takes great courage to stand up to them, which is why I have so much admiration for the victims. Now, some Muslims take a very fundamental and literalist interpretation of their ideology, and they regard Muhammad as a perfect man and a model for all time. And as we know, Muhammad was a warlord who took many sex slaves, which is permissible under Islamic culture. He married a 6-year-old and consummated the marriage when she was 9-year-old. So the age of consent in Islamic culture is a lot more elastic than it would be in Western culture. The Quran lays down rules for how women must dress and behave and restricts her sexual freedom. A woman does not have equal rights with a man in Islam. An Islamic woman is very much a second-class citizen, and a non-Islamic woman is very much a third-class citizen, even if that. Now, there is a mindset amongst some Muslims to regard defenceless non-Muslim women as fair game, as sex slaves. They are simply inferior human beings who can be exploited on the scale that we have seen. And so much better for them because they can actually make money out of it. And that's what we've seen. You all know about the niqab offices and the fast food outlets which act as a network that allows criminals to exploit these victims of sex slavery. Now, sometimes when these cases have gone to court, there have been many convictions, but they just represent the tip of an iceberg about what is actually happening. And the details that have come out of those cases are truly sickening. And the communities that these people come from are also complicit, because they have not actually helped to bring these people to justice or to report on their fellow Muslims when they had the opportunity to do something about it. So what can we do about it? Well, this is what a government should do. It should give the police the resources that they need in money and manpower to allow them to pursue these cases and bring the criminals to justice. The criminals who are convicted should be given the strongest sentences possible in order to deter other criminals. And where these criminals have dual nationality, British nationality should be taken away. At the end of their sentence, they should be deported back to where they came from. And they shouldn't be allowed to hide behind the human rights legislation that protects them in so many cases. And the UK's laws that are there to protect innocent people and children and women should be implemented irrespective of the race, religion, ethnicity of the victim or the criminal. Law should be equally applied to everybody. We've got to end the age of mass, uncontrolled immigration once and for all. The only hope of integrating the people that we've already got is to turn off the tap and millions more people flooding into the country. And let me say this, a literalist, fundamentalist interpretation of Islam is simply incompatible with Western civilization. And our governments should understand that and do something about it. Islam offers you two choices. You can either submit or you can resist. And any English man or woman, British man or woman who's got blood in their veins should never submit. Now, the other thing that we should do, of course, is end the culture of political correctness where we are not allowed to say the truth. The cult of Muhammad has made these things possible to some of his more literally minded followers, and that is a simple truth which we must be able to say, and people must understand. Now, if you want to protect your children and your grandchildren, then you have to organise politically. It's great to go out on demonstrations, but the politicians can ignore them. All they care about is losing votes. That's all that matters to politicians. If they're in Parliament or in the Council and nobody's challenging them, nothing changes. Now, my party, the UK Independence Party, has been organising for 25 years. It was the UKIP electoral threat that brought about the referendum, and it was UKIP boots on the ground and Nigel Farage and others on the telly that actually won that referendum. We achieved that over 25 years, and there is a lot more that needs to be achieved over the next 25 years if we want a country to live in that's fit to live in. Now, I'm very pleased to announce, first of all, let me say, I'd like to invite you all to think about joining UKIP, because we are only as strong as our members can make us. And I'd like to thank Sharon Binks, who has agreed to attend our conference next week in Birmingham on the Saturday afternoon, and she is going to talk about this very subject to our members. And we are very proud in UKIP to be able to support her cause, and I can tell you that we are 100% behind it. So thank you very much for asking me to speak today. You have our full support, and I hope that you're going to give us yours. Thank you.
Let's hear it for Gerard Barron. Well done, Gerard. Thanks, mate.
Somebody's just reminded me of something I should have said, and that is UKIP thanks Sunderland, and the country at large thanks Sunderland, because you voted overwhelmingly to leave in the referendum. And I as UKIP leader, can speak on behalf of my party, we are going to do everything we can to make sure that we leave the European Union. And remember, there's only one party that's actually got a plan for how we should leave. That's UKIP, and I wrote it.
That's it! That's it! Thanks a lot, Gerard. Right, next up speaking, we've got Gary Harris from the DFLA. Can I have some applause for him, please?
Sunderland. Oh, what a welcome. Pat yourselves on the back, everyone. Seriously, Sunderland done so well today. The North East have done well today, and the UK have turned up. They've done well today. Before I say any more though, a lot of hard work's gone into this by a lot of local people and a few from the DFLA, and I just think they all deserve a big round of applause. They know who they are. I just want to say well done, everybody. The hard work is paid off. DFLA. Who are we? So, we are parents, grandparents, hard working class people who have worked long and hard to put food on our table and roofs over our head. Just over a year ago, through the atrocities in Manchester and London, we decided enough is enough. We'd had enough. We were sick to death of it. And that's what we're about. We're not just about marching, although I've got to say something. I was in Middlesbrough last week, and I don't know how many of you see, I did a live stream, and there was a few of us there. And I'm going to tell you why we marched. A group of girls joined us during the course of the march in Middlesbrough. And in that march was a lot of victims of rape, of sexual abuse. And it unfolded in front of us. These young ladies slowly disintegrated in front of our eyes. And it turned out that one of them had been raped multiple times. And the look on her face and the sobbing of her heart. But the girls of Sunderland, they took that girl and they are now supporting that girl. And had we not been there marching, yeah, that girl would still be alone, no support, because I ain't getting any off this establishment. That girl, a 12 or 13-year-old girl, the look in her eye broke my heart. I went home and sobbed to my missus and my daughter about it, because when you see the look in them girls' eyes, the pain they're going through, where's the help? Where's the establishment to help these girls? You know, they're on their own. But we marched last week, and them girls now getting help. All right? That's why we march. We're here today because of the justice for the women and children. Now, I'm going to say this in front of everybody. We, the DFLA, we pledge our total and unconditional support, and we will be standing shoulder to shoulder with these girls all the way. All right? Sunderland, these girls want to take this national. The platform they're developing in Sunderland will eventually go across this country and help millions of children and women that are being sexually abused in this country. So, we pledge that today in front of you all. The girls have got complete and unconditional support from the DFLA. Right, okay. So, look, I'm not going to harp on about it all because your girls are going to come up to me later and save your biggest round of applause for them girls, yeah? So I'm not going to harp on about what's happening. They'll tell you all about the children and everything else. What I do want to do now, though, is remind us of a responsibility and a commitment that we must now take, a duty to the sacrifice that our forefathers gave for us. We laid the wreaths today. Now, I was in a pub last night, having a lot of welcoming from the Sunderland lads. There were 7 of us sat round a table, and we were talking about this, and my great-granddaddy fought on the Somme. Then Big Jim was sat beside me, his granddad fell on the Somme. Bless him. 2 other people also had grandparents that fought on the Somme. Now, we was all from different parts of this country. We then spoke about Al Alamein in World War II. And we found 3 people there had relatives all fighting on the same field. Now, if you have a look around you today, just look around all the people today, I promise you now, you're going to be shocked when you realise just how many of your grandparents and your great-grandparents fought and died, a lot of them, on the very same battlefields. Yeah? They fought and died on that very same battlefield. And it is our responsibility, because this is not the country they give that sacrifice for as it stands at the moment. And we've got to stand up and be counted. In 1914, the call went out to the good people of this country to stand up for the freedom, for the values of this country, and they did. In 1939, the very same call went up. 2018, everybody, that call's out again. We have to stand up, we have to get out there in numbers, and we have to honour and respect what your families have given us, because they died on them battlefields for us, for all of you that stood here today. And we mustn't forget that as well, we have that duty. All right, that's it, thank you very much.
Right, next up, we've got Richard Inman from Veterans Against Terrorism. Can I have it, please? Let's have some applause for Richard.
I'll start speaking about the rape scandal, and it is a scandal in Sunderland. I want to say this. Our freedom of speech is under attack in this country. And what Gary just said about our fathers and forefathers fighting for, we're losing it, and we can't afford to lose it. Freedom of speech must be protected. I want to tell you something. Every single man here should be ready to die and go to prison to protect freedom of speech. If you want to stand here and criticise Islam, you have the freedom to do it within the law. And if that law changes and makes it illegal, you break that law because it's wrong. But we're here today for the women of Sunderland. And we salute the women of Sunderland, the DFLA and Veterans Against Terrorism. We salute you. We salute you for your bravery, and we salute you for your courage. I was brought up in the northeast of England, not too far from here. I know these 3 things about women in the northeast. First of all, they're strong. Secondly, they're courageous. And thirdly, you don't want to get on the wrong side of them. And you women that led that march today, until there was a little scuffle, you women that led that march, you have led this movement. It's an amazing thing that you've done. You've stood up here, you've stood against the far left. You've stood against the migrant rapists. You've stood against corrupt politicians. DFLA are here to help the heroines of Sunderland. We will stand with you, we will fight with you, and we will protect you. We are here for you. We will do whatever it takes. And we saw the protest just away there. Yes, we saw the protesters. They claim to stand up to racism. I don't see any racism in this crowd. No racism in this crowd. They are hypocrites who hide behind the word racism. They should change their name to Stand Up for Racist and Stand Up for Terrorism, because that's what they do. They're protecting the they are shameless first group of people. They like to chant racist scum off our streets. I was at a veterans demonstration in York 3 weeks ago. 70-year-old veterans, heroes that served in Northern Ireland, were walking down the street, and those people over there were calling them racist scum, when they are the ones that actually fought against the fascists and fought against the Nazis and the IRA. Maybe we should have a little chant that they use. Maybe it's when they chant racist scum off our streets, we should chant rapist scum off our streets! 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 We're here today to stand up for the young girls of Sunderland, the young women of Sunderland that have been going out to nightclubs and have been drugged and dragged off and raped. We're here for you. And I want to say this. If you've had anyone in your close family who's been the victim of a sexual assault, you know what that means to that woman and how much that damages that woman. And the women of Sunderland, we're telling you and promising you, we are here for you. No more rapes on our streets. Rape of young women and children is the most heinous, despicable crime that a man can commit. And I want to say this to the migrant rapists, and I'm saying migrant rapists not because we're racist, because the rapists are migrants. And we say this to the migrant racists: we don't care about your culture, we don't care about your religion, we don't care about how tough your life was before you came to England. You will not treat our women as easy meat. How dare you come as guests to our country and take liberties with our women and children? You're now living in the greatest country in the world. Live by our rules or leave! Political elite, the corrupt businessmen that are making money out of this scandal, to some of the police that cover this up, we say shame on you! Shame on you for covering up these crimes! Shame on you for covering up rape! Shame on you for covering up racist and sectarian! Shame on you! Sunderland's part of a massive epidemic of sexual abuse that's taken place in this nation. There could be 1 million victims of predominantly Muslim rape gangs in England. Many of these young girls have been raped over 100 times. This is a national scandal and it must stop now. We make this promise that we will do everything within the law and everything within our power to help the authorities bring these criminals to justice. The days of the rape of the daughters of England is coming to an end. And I Jared Batten from UK. Give Jared a little round of applause. UK coming for a lot of stick. I want to tell you something. Politically, this is the only show in town, and the people of this movement must get behind this party and support this man in the stand he's taking. He's a hero of our age. We're organising politically, and this is the direction that we're going. Our political demands are very simple. We call for all migrant rapists to be jailed and then deported once they've served their sentences. We call for an end to the ghettoisation of the cities of the United Kingdom. We want to see full integration, not ghettoisation. We call for a national public inquiry into the rape of the daughters of England, not an inquiry here and there. We want an inquiry into the whole thing, and we want it exposed as what it is, an Islamic rape epidemic. And we call for a national policing task force to be set up to destroy the Muslim rape gangs. Finally, if the state refuses to deal with this issue, I say this to you: get rid of the government. Don't vote Labour anymore. Don't vote for the Conservatives anymore. Get in a government that will protect you and stand for you. But until that happens, the men and women of Sunderland, of Middlesbrough, of Newcastle, of Birmingham must stand for their people and protect their wives and their children. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Right, next up, we've got Tracy Blackwell from Justice for Our Boys. Can I have a film for it, please?
Sorry, I'm not that tall. Hello, Sunderland. It is an honour to be here today amongst you all. We just wish it was not for the reasons we are all here. Some of you know who we are. Some of you will not know who we are. I am Tracy. I am the mother of Josh. This is Nicola, the mother of Harry. And we also always represent George. Josh, Harry and George were murdered. Sorry everyone. Josh, Harry and George were murdered in January. And this was covered up by the Met Police, the CPS and the court. Shame on you. Due to how the establishment treated our children and how they treated us, we realised there was another side to this country that we never knew. It has a dark side. Since then, we have been on a journey to wake up the masses. We have been ignored, and we get no questions answered. We have met many people and heard far too many tragic stories, like the story of the grooming gangs, which brings us here today. In Rotherham, Rochdale, Telford, Oxford, Peterborough, Bristol, Aylesbury, Newcastle, and here in Sunderland. You then go and speak out about it. You then get called names like we have today from the left. Well, we would not have to be out here speaking about them if the police did their duty. We pay your wages. It's about time you earned them. Rotherham was ignored. Some of the other towns were ignored. And now look what is happening in Sunderland. These women and children are being ignored. They are having to take to the streets to say no more rapes. Shame on you, constables. As we know, they make up stories about us just because we speak out. God forbid the paupers having a voice. Isn't that right, establishment? They have made us feel we do not matter, that children do not matter. Well, no one has the right to treat any of us like we do not matter, because we all matter. All we want is a fairer and a better and safer society for everyone. We are one of the most corrupt countries in the world. We have been fooled. It is abhorrent that we have to stand here and fight our own government to get justice and to save the people. We all know we have threats amongst us like the left and the terrorists, and you all know about radical Islamic terrorism. But what about our own government's ideology, their plan, the one we don't fit into? Let's be honest here. We are not just trying to fight grooming gangs. We are trying to stop satanic ritual abuse involving our own establishment, who seems to think it's okay to do this to children. It is not okay. The establishment all need to be held accountable for their crimes towards the people. The establishment will think we will all give up. The more they ignore us, the more we will fight. It is not in our blood to surrender ever. They think we will not be able to withstand the storm. Well, they got that wrong, because we are the storm. You cannot eradicate our bulldog spirit. They control the people through fears. Well, let's start making them fear. Let's make them fear the loss of their power. Justice for our boys now have a political backing from the People's Revolution Party, who have a large alliance. A party for the people, run for the people. We only have one chance at removing these traitors in power, and that is what we will do together. The day will come when history will speak, and from this day forward, we can make that history and become a new Britain for the people. The great man, Martin Luther King, had a dream, and I will echo that dream in my own words. I say to you today, my friends, my family, that in spite of the difficulties and frustration and our hurt we are having to face at this moment in time, I still have a dream. It is a deep dream, deeply rooted, a British dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of freedom. That everybody will care, not just a few like us here today, for the sake of our future generations. I have a dream that one day in this country that black and white, straight or gay will unite and not listen to the lies of the left or the mainstream media that have helped create this divide, that have lied and assisted in our own demise. I have a dream that one day all the people will get up and stand up for their rights and all say enough is enough of all these injustices and oppression, and this country will be transformed in the land to the freedom and justice. I have a dream that our children will one day live in a nation where the truth is told, where they are protected, where we are free from this system, the establishment for years of enslaved us in. And the hurt, the pain, the poverty and the suffering are all gone. I have a dream that one day Britain, whose government lies to the people, who oppresses them, who uses them for their own sick and twisted agenda, will be transformed into a new government, one run by the people, one that does not ignore the will of the people, who does not use them and makes protecting them their priority. I have a dream that one day us three families will wake up and find out it was all a horrible dream, and that Josh, Harry and George will come home. I will hear my my beautiful son's voice again, wash his clothes and make his packed lunch, and hear his funny laugh echo from his bedroom. But that one is just a dream. All I hear now is silence. The same silence I hear from the people that turned a blind eye because it has not happened to them. Where is the social conscience? Where is the outrage from the rest of the nation? Every police constable that is standing here right now should feel ashamed and embarrassed that we the people are standing here fighting for our children, your children and their children. There is hope. There is hope. We was not brought up to be proud of who we are and to be proud of our country for nothing. Where there is hope, the dark days will turn into light. Where the death of our nation, which is dying before our very eyes, will turn into life again. Because we will work together to stand up against the corruption, to get us our freedom, giving us the hope, knowing that one day we will be free and we can do it together. We can. We can. Then in the future, all our children and their children will be able to be proud again, like we once were. They will say, my country is the land of the free again, the land of the pride. This is when they will be able to say they are in Great Britain. Every scar we have makes us who we are. Let's show them why the lions are the king of the jungle. Because he who dares wins.
Yes, brilliant. Well done, Tracy. Right, next up we've got James Goddard for Justice for Our Boys. Now, James.
Afternoon, Sunderland. I'd like to start by saying what an honour it is to be standing here today with the brave women and children of Sunderland. And of course, like with each and every one of you. But I'm here today to tell the corrupt police officers over there, the scumbags down there, that enough is enough. I just want to say how amazingly brave and passionate Tasha and Sharon are. I know Tasha set up Justice for Women and Children after a spate of 4 rapes in 10 days. I had the honour of standing with them in Middlesbrough. These women are fantastic. They're helping victims to come forward with their stories, which brings me to the scum over there that are protesting against rape victims. They have the audacity to counter this protest. They have the audacity to protest against veterans, and they try and claim the moral high ground. Our way of life is under attack from the establishment and followers of Islamism. Our government have imported savages from the third world who are pillaging and raping their way across this great land. Rotherham, Rochdale, Newcastle, Sunderland, Huddersfield and many more have been besieged by grooming gangs, and they stand there and they do nothing. Then the very institutions that are supposed to protect these girls turn their backs on them. Why in this country do we have paedophiles on bail, yet people that report on the truth are sent to prison? It's a disgrace. The Tories, Labour, the Liberal Democrats are all 3 heads of the same snake. They all tell us they're for the people, yet they're standing by and allowing everything that was sacrificed by our war veterans in World War I and II to be attacked. 2 years and 3 months ago, we voted for Brexit, okay? They talk about a Brexit bill of 40 billion, yet they fail to remember it was our allied forces that defeated the Nazis and freed Europe. They fail to remember it was John Major who wrote off a multi-billion-pound debt to the European Union. This is a disgrace. But seriously, we've got to take control from this corrupt establishment. These are the people that are facilitating the rape of children by allowing grooming gangs and murderers on our streets. We have gangs patrolling London, stabbing and robbing innocent people. This country is on the rocks, but we must save it. My message is clear. I stand for Britain. I stand with the women and children that have been raped. I stand for Josh, Harry and George. And I stand for victims of terrorism. We have got to do something. This nation was built on Christian values, but we have got to take back control. And we've got to show everyone there that they won't be respected until just don't make you understand. We have to make some noise. They took away our boys, and now we're going to shame the police. Thank you.
Well done, John. Right, next up, we got the ladies from Sunderland. They're very brave ladies. Sharon Binks, Tasha Allen, for justice for our women and children. Can I hear some applause for them, please? Come on, let's hear it. Come on, ladies.
I'm not a racist, I'm not a fascist, and I'm not far right. I'm a confused and scared resident of Sunderland. I don't want to be raped, and I don't want my children to be raped. I'm not vibrant, and I'm not Antifa. I am concerned about our council's lack of care. I am concerned about our council's lack of planning, and I'm concerned that the police do not have a headquarters in Sunderland no longer. I just want my kids safe. I'm just going to highlight some of the things that's been going on in Sunderland. In the last 3 years, the police investigated 253 rapes in Sunderland. There was 4 rapes in 10 days. There was 2 rapes in the same street within 2 weeks. There was a double rape in Mowbray Park. 2 schoolgirls were attacked by a barbershop owner and pinned down and was sexually assaulted. A girl with learning difficulties was pulled off the street and she was raped. And the things we want to do is justice for the women. We want open discussions about sexual assault, rape and grooming to protect our women and children. We want to encourage people to come forward and tell me their stories to expose these rapists and abusers. We want to see change in the way women and children are treated when they disclose a crime of rape and abuse. We want to see an end of children and women being blamed for crimes against them. We want to see a change in the law so the victim is acknowledged as a victim and not as a witness, and an end to the law protecting rapists when the women or child is obviously being violated and beaten. We want to see the end of cover-ups by grooming gangs and the protection for Muslims who choose to come forward. We want the criminal establishment exposed, prosecutions for the institutional abuse of our children and the failure to protect. We want stricter checks on taxi drivers and takeaway owners. And we want to make our victims and survivors into warriors. It's about time we took back our goddess status. Thank you.
My turn. This is a bit more personal for me. I'm just going to give you a rundown of my life, basically. So, it'll all make sense to you in a bit. I was born in Middlesbrough in 1970, in the year of the dog, on May the 4th, Star Wars Day. So, that makes me a British bulldog, you could say. I was a twin, and shared the room with my brother, and later on shared a room with my sister. Now, at 7 years old, my sister moved out, and it was the first time I'd had a room to myself. But I started getting a bad dream. It was a recurring dream, something that happened to me in the previous year. It only seemed to affect me when my sister moved out, and I had this dream every night for quite some time. It was very disturbing. It involved my older cousin and his mum, and well, you can just imagine anyway. It's not dire, but as a 6-year-old child it was. So I don't know why I didn't tell my mum about it at the time, but you know, my dad was a bit of a drunk and a bully, so she had her own problems. Anyway, my sister moved back, and that settled down. Anyway, 10 years old, was a bit of a tomboy. I went to Meccano Club, and on the way home from Meccano Club, me and my friend, the two boys whose father ran the club, decided to chase us. Well, they caught me, and they pinned me down, and I know what their intentions were, and I threatened them with the police, and it didn't bother them. I threatened them with their dad, and they stopped what they were doing. I later found out that the dad was a paedophile, and he was setting up these groups so he could abuse boys. So I understand why those boys behaved the way they did. At 14, I kind of lost interest in school. I started drinking and smoking, and you know, when something like that happens, it's very difficult to concentrate at school, and I understand why these kids end up dropping out. When I was 16, I bumped into the cousin, and he spoke to me in the town, and it brought back this dream. So when I went home and spoke to Mum, she couldn't believe that I could remember it, because I'd put it down to a dream, I'd absorbed it. I thought there was something wrong with me. For the dream I was having, I couldn't understand at that age. So when she told me that it happened, and she told me a few other things that I hadn't remembered, but it just shows you as a child how you cut things out. That set me off the rails a little bit. 17, I moved in with a neighbour. And at that time I'd planned to take an overdose, but it just so happened my mum came out of the house at the time. I was going back to the neighbours with my bottle of vodka and my tablets, and I couldn't go through with it. So at 18, I got into a relationship with somebody who was quite violent, and the night he broke my nose, I did take an overdose. Fortunately, I threw up all night, and I was ill for a couple of days, and I got over it. So at 19, I moved up to Scotland with a boyfriend. It didn't last very long, he was quite controlling. You know, I think when you've got some trauma, you're not very good at relationships, as you'll see. I moved up with a boyfriend. I ended up with an eating disorder. I took another overdose. Again, threw up all night. And I thought that time that, you know, something's telling me I've got something to do on this planet and I need to do it. So, because of my weight loss and everything, a colleague from work invited me to stay with her, and I left him. And anyway, the following year, I found myself pregnant, and I believe my daughter was a gift. She was the reason that I had to live, and she was the reason that if I couldn't look after myself, I could not look after her. So she was an absolute gift to me. At 23, the failed marriage with her dad, moved back to England. At 24, I'd got a job. I was living with my mum. She was looking after my daughter. I went out in the town in Middlesbrough, and I met there was a couple of guys. I was out with the girls from work, and one of the guys was apparently a friend of the guy I was seeing at the time. Now, I thought I could trust him. I had a drink and everything. He said he'd get me a taxi home, but on the way home he said he needed to call at his house for money. We got out the taxi, foolishly, and I wasn't getting out of there until he got what he wanted. So I didn't report it because I felt stupid. I felt naive, and I felt like it was my fault because I trusted somebody and I put myself in that position. So that was never reported, but I had to deal with it and move on, as so many girls out there do. And you know, there must be thousands of girls out there that have been raped on a night out and just don't report it because they were drunk or they'd been talked to them. And you know how the courts work, they're not in your favour at all. So, at 25 I managed to get a house for myself, and I was walking to school with my 3-year-old daughter at the time. Two of the women that I walked to school with, you know, we got to know each other. They both also had a story about abuse and rape. And it got me wondering how many people out there have got that story. How many people are carrying the wounds from childhood that have never found justice. At 26, I had my second daughter. By the age of 28, I was a single parent again for the second time. At that point, I hit rock bottom. It was do or die. And I couldn't die because I had two beautiful daughters. So I had to kick myself up the arse and get on with it. So I set myself a 5-year goal. That 5-year goal was to do as much as I could until my youngest daughter, was full-time school. So that at that time I could get a job where they could feel proud of me, I could hold my head up, and I could be of service to others. So I wanted at that time to be some form of counsellor for young people who've been through some trauma. So I went to college for the first time. I did counselling, I did voluntary work with the Rape Crisis Centre, and I did some mediation training. At 30 I met my husband-to-be, and I moved to Ripon, and I carried on with the voluntary work. And then I got a number of jobs that helped me put my CV together in order for me to get a job with North Yorkshire County Council, with the Children's Services and the social work team. Now, when my children got old enough to understand stranger danger, I explained to them that it's not always strangers. It could be family members, it could be friends. And I've instilled into them that if anybody ever made them feel uncomfortable, or touched them, or said anything, they just come to me straight away. Because I didn't want them feeling the way I felt growing up. So, I guess the message is, this is what I'm doing today. I want to tell everybody else's children to tell if something's going on, as I did with my own. So, in my job with North Yorkshire County Council, I started as a family support worker with the social work team. And I was dealing with children in need and child protection, and it just felt like I was fighting fires, like it was too late, like things were going too far. You were gathering evidence on these families in order to take their children away. I wanted to be there early on. I wanted to be there so that the rot didn't set in. So I got a job with the North Yorkshire as a parent support advisor. I covered 19 schools working with families one-to-one with behaviour management and just structuring their families so that they didn't get frustrated and damage the relationship between them. So by 2012, my mum was ill and I had to move back to my hometown. So I got a job at North Allerton as a family outreach worker, working with teenagers who were out of the school system at the Pupil Referral Centre. And then North Yorkshire decided to restructure, and they changed from Children's Services to Prevention Service. Now for me, Prevention Service means Sharia law, because I'll get to that in a minute, but I worked with over 300 families in that time. In that 15 years I worked for them, and I never had one complaint against me. Not from the families, only from the people that I worked with, because I was on the family side. So, in December 16, being back in my hometown, there was graffiti on the wall about my cousin, calling him a pedo. Now, I felt a bit responsible in the sense that I should say something. Now, it wasn't for revenge, you know, I'd learned to forgive, and I moved on with my life, and I turned it in my favour, and I used it to benefit others. But anyway, when I saw the graffiti, I thought it was my duty to make a complaint against him, 40 years on. I didn't expect the complaint to go anywhere but in the file, in case anybody else reported him. I wanted them to be taken seriously. So anyway, between December and May, well, it was about April time, my daughter's friend was talking about this guy, Tommy Robinson, right? I'd never heard of him, so I started looking at a few of the posts. In May last year, the police told me that the CPS were taking my case to court. I didn't understand why, because there was no evidence apart from his word against mine and a few family members that I'd spoken to over the years about it. But they felt there was enough evidence to take it to court. That again set me off on a spiral, because I was then having the bad dreams and wondering how I was going to deal with speaking about it in court. So, also in May, through Tommy Robinson's post, I heard about Justice for Chelsea in Sunderland. So I came along to that because I couldn't understand how my case was going to court and hers wasn't. So I came along, and the people that I met Peter Sweden. I don't know if you guys know Peter Sweden, he's a good guy. He told me about Sweden being the rape capital of Europe. I couldn't quite believe it. So I started doing a little bit of digging, and I met a few other people there. In fact, that was my first interview with Peter Sweden. Unfortunately, I was talking to a guy about people getting sacked from their job for attending these marches. And I was caught on camera at the end of it saying, well, I work for North Yorkshire. If they see this, I'll get sacked. Well, that was a prediction. So, in June and July, I shared some posts on Facebook. One of my colleagues reported me as being far right. I had a conversation in the office in July about, it was after the Manchester bombing obviously, about jihad and the grooming gangs and everything. And I had a decent conversation, but there was somebody out of that office that didn't like me. And when the boys told her about the conversation, she reported me. And then I had a conversation in another office about the grooming gangs, and I stated there were Muslim grooming gangs. And I stated that Mohammed wasn't a good role model, considering he was a warlord and a paedophile. Now the response from one of the guys in the office was, it's not always considered paedophilia in some cultures. Right? I couldn't quite believe that, but anyway, come August, I was suspended. And they sent me home, and they didn't get in touch with me for a month. So on the day that I had to go in and explain myself, it was the same day that my cousin was going to court to do his plea. And also the same day my daughter was having a scan. So I was a little bit upset that day. But I stood by everything I'd said about the grooming gangs and about the dangers, because it was all true. Anyway, I got suspended, and I came off Facebook in August. I thought I'll come away from it. My daughters were getting worried about me. I'd lost a lot of weight. I was very stressed. I was getting angry and fearful all the time about what was going on. But the other day, well, I filled my time in that 4 months learning about other things like quantum mechanics, gravity, things like that. Anyway, I wrote a declaration to myself, and I came across it 2 days ago, funnily enough, and I forgot that I wrote it. So I just wanted to read it out to you. My personal declaration in autumn last year. I'm ready to take on the fight and stand up for what I believe is for the good of humanity. I'm ready to make a change in the world and accept whatever lessons come my way. Sorry. What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? I'd create a world without religion or political dogma. Every human being would be free to think and feel whatever is true to them, without the influence of any one book. Every child would learn compassion, love, acceptance, and respect for themselves and each other. Violence would be unacceptable on all levels. Women would be cherished for their gift of life and natural nurturing instinct. Each person would have their natural abilities recognised and encouraged in a society where people help each other out with whatever skills they can trade. Empaths would outnumber narcissists and help them to heal the wounded child. Childhood would be about play, laughter and excitement. Education would be honest and useful. Real history, useful skills, outside classrooms. We would live in a free society where anyone breaking the law or doing harm to anyone would be dealt with fairly. The government would be made of real working class truth seekers. All I will achieve in the next year. Some of it's not come to fruition yet, but I'll read it out. My life 1 year from now. I will have won my battle with NYCC. I will have educated people on the dangers to our civilization. I'll be in a job where I can be honest and helpful and supportive. I'll be a key player in changing the government agenda. I'll be earning enough money to think about going travelling. I'll be networking with the true patriots. I will have enough money to pay my bills, support my family and live comfortably. I'll know where my life is going. I'll be enjoying family time and watching my family grow. I'll be more spiritual. I will not be in the ego. I will be advising and helping people to bring family together and make the most of every day. Right, as far as the DFLA are concerned,
England all the way.
they're very special to me. They're very important in my journey. As I was suspended, I got 4 months. I got sacked the week before Christmas. It was a bit of a witch hunt. I mean, my second interview with them was on Halloween, believe it or not. Definitely a witch hunt. So, in January, they sacked me for religious discrimination. They tried to get me for racial, but I'm not racist. So they didn't work. So they got me for religious discrimination. As I say, Sharia blasphemy law in action in the council. Anyway, come January, I pulled myself round a little bit from being sacked. And I heard about the Veterans March in January. That's where I met Brian from the DFLA. And a lot of other good people at the time. The next march was Birmingham. I think that was in March. And Brian kindly offered to meet me there. And he let me carry the Newcastle banner all day. I will add. Anyway, in May, I had to go to court. And he got away with it because obviously the jury's told if there's no evidence, you can't convict. It doesn't matter what they've said, there's no evidence. Which was the pointless process of me going to court, to be honest. And then, to kind of dedicate my time to the Manchester bombing a year on, I went to Manchester and I was supposed to meet Brian. Well, Brian didn't meet me off the train. He was in the pub with Keith, who I hadn't met yet. Anyway, I walked down with some London guys to the meeting point, and I couldn't find them, so I tagged along with Red Pill Phil. We got stopped on the square in Manchester, and I got arrested. I got beaten up on a cracked rib in the back of the van, trying to get my phone off me because I videoed him. When I asked him if he was following his oath, he got a bit upset and tried to grab my phone. So, on the 2nd of June, I asked Brian, did he still have the spare ticket for Manchester, and he kindly gave me the ticket. He may have regretted it after listening to me talk for 6 hours there and back on the train. Anyway, on the 23rd of June, we went to the Unity March. Oh, by the way, I met Al in Manchester, and Al said if I'm ever down in London, I could use his sofa. So, all right. Anyway, so I met Al. He let me stay on his sofa, and when we went to the Unity March, we met Keith, who's been very kind to me ever since. We go to marches together. Yes, very special Keith. And me and Al were having a conversation about all the chanting, which is where the idea of the music came from. So in June, I was asked to read things out for the Justice for Women, and because Keith asked me to do that, I appreciated his support, so I went along. And that's how I got involved with Justice for the Women and Children. And hopefully, the people I've met from the DFLA along my journey have been the real people of this country, the real men, the real people that are willing to stand up and fight for the women and children. They're willing to take to the streets and be labelled whatever they're labelled. So, yeah, I applaud you all and thank you for all your support through my journey.
You'll agree that was quite a compassionate speech. Thank you. I'd like to bring Norman, the bringing up, he's going to touch on post-traumatic stress disorder and the amount of our ex-servicemen that are taking their own lives. Norman.
Hello, Sunderland! Hello, I can't hear you! Today, I'm standing here before you under the Armed Forces Covenant, which I am going to exercise my right, and it is my right that I can have freedom of speech and freedom of speech on my streets. I did not go to war for this country to allow our borders to be used and abused. I did not go
I will not allow them to be murdered. I was born and bred in Gateshead. I supported Sunderland Football Club for many years. I stood on the terraces at Roker Park, and I then joined the armed forces. And as I've said, we will not tolerate what's going on. But I will say this, our veterans and our current serving soldiers who have got what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, that is sweeping right across all our trade services, and not only across the trade services, but also the civilian trade services, the police, the fire brigade and the ambulance. I'm going to say to you, in the last 6 months we have currently got 37 guys and women who have taken their lives because of this. On the 20th of October, there will be thousands taken to the streets in London and demonstrating outside of the MOD. This is a wake-up call for this ministry to say enough is enough. Gavin Williamson, the Defence Secretary of State, the alarm bells have been sounded, the alarm clock is set. There is no snooze button. We are coming to London, and we are coming in our mass numbers. This country is in dire straits. It's not long ago that I came across the DFLA, and I didn't know much about them. But let me tell you this, the DFLA is the biggest thing that this country has seen in decades. Let me tell you this, the DFLA, if nobody can do it, the DFLA can do it. We must stand together. The only red that I want to see in the northeast is red, white and blue. I don't want to say Labour. We need to get Labour out of the northeast. And there's only one man that can do it. And if nobody else is going to tell you, I'm going to tell you. There's only one bulldog, Gerard Batten. He's the only man that is going to make change, and he's going to make changes. So what I say to you and everybody in the northeast of England, stand up, join UKIP, pay your membership and vote UKIP. Thank you, Sunderland.
I'm going to start winding down now. I'd like to bring up on the stage Holly and Chris and Justice for Jack Walker.
Can I just say to you guys, it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to march side by side with every single last man jack of you that marched today. We've got a march coming up in Manchester, 1st of December. Anybody who wants to join us, join us. Veterans, to stop the prosecutions of veterans who served in Northern Ireland, that needs stopping. We are not trying to be above the law, we are trying to be equal in it. If they're going to prosecute us, they prosecute the IRA. They won't do that. Why? Why won't they prosecute the IRA? Because if they do, they will start bombing again in the UK, in the mainland, on the mainland. This is what we want to stop. We don't want any more bloodshed. We don't want any more of anything like that. Those muppets down there today were trying to get a rise out of you guys. They failed. They failed miserably. I salute every single last one of you. This is about England. This is about the UK. This is about our children, our daughters. This is what this is about. And we need to start coming together on a massive scale to stop these perverts. Because that is what they are. They are perverts. No more, no less. I don't call them men. I don't call them people. I don't call them human beings. They are perverts. We have got a lot going on in this country right now. We need you. We need every one of you. Every one of you stand up with us, and we will be there for you. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say my name. My name's Chris. I'm here for the women and children of Sunderland, first and foremost. Sunderland, the 15th of September 2018, the day of action. Action must be taken and not abused. Just letting the constabulary know over there, who keep ignoring it and keep abusing it, and keep ignoring that our children, our loved ones are getting groomed all around the country, getting raped, getting murdered, and it's getting ignored. No more. No more. We're not having it. We're coming in the flocks and in the thousands. Today, all years, thank you very much for turning out. It means a lot from me, from the bottom of my heart. I'm telling you how hard it is for me to stand up here and talk to you, yeah? I ain't got bottle, I ain't got confidence, nullified of it. But I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody from Sunderland. Thank you for turning out. And a big thank you to the DFLA and the women and children of Sunderland. And my heart bleeds every time I think of the shit that you've been put through. And every time I think of the cover-ups and the neglect and the malpractice and the mistreatment that your children, your women, your men, your people of this land have been put through and ignored by the establishment and by the constables who swore an oath and who've got a duty to protect and serve the people, not protect and serve rapists, not protect and serve terrorist governments, not to protect and serve murderers. No more! Enough is enough! Enough is enough! You must stop! You must take your hats off and stand with the people! I just had to get that off my chest. That wasn't scripted. That was from the heart. From there. What I was born with. What you ain't ever going to take away from me. And if I die tomorrow, my legacy will live on to protect the people. Your children to come, in futures from now. We're here to protect you, and we're going to keep coming to every march around the country until we get action, action, day of action. Now I must carry on with this speech because I went well off the road then, and I've only got so much time we're allowed. Big thank you to all the speakers here today. It means a lot to everyone. I know it does. I'm looking at the passionate people before me now and all around me. All very brave for standing here and having their voices heard. Thank you for having us here. We are honoured to stand with you all. You all have our full support, all of you. And if any of you children, women, men, any of you need to speak out, you must speak out. Tell anyone, and there's someone always there to help. Just go on any of our pages and we'll point you in the right direction. No one can stop us from speaking. No one can stop us from speaking. It's our land. I'm not on a boat now, you know, with your maritime law and all that palaver. We don't speak biggledy-bump. Never heard of it. We speak English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, the United Kingdom. So let's get united. Let's pull together as people, as one. As one. Look at all these people here today. Look at you all. You're all magnificent. You've got Albion. You've got Sunderland. You've got Newcastle. You've got all football supporters pulling together for what? to stop the treacherous constabularies, the treacherous governments, the treacherous establishments covering up rapes, covering up murders, protecting Islamic extremist gangs. I'm not afraid to say it, because I've got freedom of speech, because I know the law and I know my rights. And if you put me in a cell, one day I'll get out, and I'll say it all again, because I'm not scared. I've had enough badness happen to me, to my father, without any of you establishments ever being able to burst my bubble, boys, girls, whoever you are, anything in between. So I'll carry on with my speech. A massive thank you to everyone who turned up today and everyone that is watching online and everyone all around the live streams around the world. We've had a lot of feedback up to now and before I even got on the stage. I'm sure I can speak for everyone here that will appreciate your continued support in the fight for justice. The reason we are standing here today is to show our support to the women and children of Sunderland and the women and children of the nation and the men, what they're covering up to, might I add. Now, I'm just getting a bit emotional. As I say, I don't really speak on stages unless I'm emceeing to a tune or I've got a rave on somewhere. But anyway, justice for Jack Walker. This is separate to the grooming gangs, but not in total. If you look at it, he was a very vulnerable man who had type 1 diabetes, who was forced by Islamic gangs out the country to Islamic Turkey, then to Islamic Indonesia, where he spent 6 years of his life being tortured and then eventually suspiciously murdered. And that too is being covered up. Why? Because it's to do with that ideology. Anyway, I'd like to pass the microphone. Thank you for listening to me. I'm going to pass the microphone over to Holly now. I'm going to introduce Holly of the family Walker. Now this is Jack's daughter. Now no one knows Holly because it got suppressed out the news, out the mainstream media for many years. Because they said if you tell anybody they might harm your dad, they might hurt him. Well guess what everybody, they suspiciously murdered him after torturing him for 6 years. After being forced from his own house with type 1 diabetes out of any of his own will and got forced to Islamic Turkey, to Islamic Indonesia where he got eventually tortured and murdered. I'm going to pass it on to this bright, strong, courageous, outstanding young woman who has to stand on these stages all the time doing this because all their lot over there are doing nothing. And all their bosses in that big brick house in London are doing nothing. We have got your numbers. We are going to come to you with all the facts, all the evidence, and let you know exactly what happened. Not like you don't know already. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, for that amazing speech. My name is Holly. I am the daughter of Jack of the family Walker. We have been pressured and suppressed for years not to speak publicly as it may endanger my dad's life. So many of you may not have heard about this. Dad's life has now been endangered to the point that we will never be able to speak to him or see him ever again. We must stand together with all other families that have been affected here in the UK, and we must get our loved ones' voices heard because that privilege has been cruelly taken away from many of them, just like my dad. We are raising awareness not only to get justice for my beautiful dad, Jack Walker, but to prevent this from happening to other innocent men, women and families.
I'm going to take over because she's shaking like a leaf and she can't actually breathe properly. Come on, we got this. We got this. Right. We hope that we can give encouragement to other families to come for. We hope that we can give encouragement to other families to come forward to tell their stories too. We will stand with you. We will have power in the numbers and strength from our hearts, even though they are forever broken by the devastation, the corruption, the deceit, and I've got proof of your mayor saying that he's here to deceive the people. We're going to show you soon. We're going to show you very soon. Yeah, you. Don't look away because you don't know what I'm on about. Yeah, you. You with a camera. You're going to report back to him. Make sure you let him know that I'm going to show the next event, and it's safely put on memory sticks in numerous locations, so if he gets rid of me, someone else will show it. Of him actually saying live to the people, the Mayor of London, who's meant to give you all his trust, all his honour, and a duty to protect and serve you. Do you think he's done out to now? Again, do you think he's done out to now? Never! And all he's done is watch while other people, other innocent victims get mutilated on the streets of this beautiful land that my grandfather, my uncles, my ancestry fought hard to give us a precious land to preserve, to pass on to these beautiful children so they can preserve it for theirs. Now, if you've got any dignity, any morals and any love and compassion to your country in your heart, on the duty that you've got, on the oath that you swore on, you'll put your hats down and join us in the force we've got to make this country great again. You've had enough. The police and the government failed to do anything to prevent these crimes from happening or to help the victims. And that is why we are here today. One must say that because this is an ongoing investigation, we cannot go into great detail about the case. And I must only speak about what is already in the public domain. Holly's dad, Jack Walker, Jack of the family Walker, I must state, an average man. He has a funny sense of humour, always lit up every room he entered. He would instantly make you smile. He was a true gentleman, a great dad, and would do anything for anyone, a great member of the community. Always happy to help someone in need. He has been a type 1 diabetic since a young age. This means he is life dependent on insulin injections with food every 4 hours. And once in the evening with or without a snack, depending on his blood glucose levels. He ran his own fresh produce delivery service in and around Manchester, all around the area, in a white refrigerated van. He's known locally as Jack the Meat Man in Manchester. Never left the area without his family looking after his insulin, life-dependent insulin. He led a fairly quiet, simple life. He worked every day apart from Mondays and also Thursday mornings, as he liked to play snooker in the local club in Crossacres before his shift. He and Holly's mum, rarely went out. They preferred to stay at home and relax after a hard week's work. We would often spend weekends together at the family home on Oatlands Road in Wythenshawe, Manchester. Jack loved to sing on the karaoke. He's a great singer and a great dancer too. They had bought their home. Mum and Dad worked hard all their life to provide for us as a family. I moved out of the family home, but my younger brother still lived at home. My brother's girlfriend was expecting a first child. This would be my dad's first grandchild. Then on the evening of 2011, our family was thrown into a twilight zone, something we had never prepared for, something no family had ever prepared for. You let him in over the border. Anyway, a man approached our family home with a gun, with threats to kill Dad and our entire family if Jack did not comply to their demands. We have later found out that personal data has been obtained by the criminals to place fear and panic into a vulnerable, innocent, diabetic man, a beautiful man, Holly's dad, our father. Without hesitation and filled with tremendous fear and panic for not only his own life, but for the lives of his entire family, Dad is forced to an Islamic Turkey, then on to an Islamic Indonesia with strict instructions to carry an empty suitcase and not to take anything with him, including his life-dependent insulin. Dad arrived at a destination, Jakarta, Indonesia. He was going through a hyperglycemic shock as he had not had his insulin for several hours. He was asking for help, asking the stewardesses, asking the customs officials, please help me. Revealed is that he had been forced to carry an empty suitcase with drugs hidden in the lining. An empty case which he had been forced to carry thousands of miles away from his own home by Islamic drug gangs. There is proof, and all the evidence and all the proof will eventually come out once the ongoing murder investigation is complete, and we have got justice for Jack Walker. Dad was sentenced to life imprisonment in Indonesia after many unlawful trials. We have the proof of that also. We can't tell you about it yet. This life sentence is more considerate and lenient other than the death sentence. Now, this was because the prosecution believed Jack and believed him a victim of crime in the UK and still had to make an example of him. The prosecutors had asked Jack's daughter, why is your country not doing anything to help your dad? Why are they not doing anything? I wonder why. We stood outside Scotland Yard and asked them, that is not how they conduct business, corporation law, business, policy please, policy, acts and statutes. That's what they were working on. But on this land, this very land, we're under common law. That's what we're under, first and foremost. Alright, I'm being told I've got to get off now. Anyway, I'll just end it with this. Jack is tortured for 6 years, losing his teeth, his limbs and eventually his life. Nothing is done to prevent this from happening. This could have happened to any of your family. It was policy, business, political statements. If you look into it yourself, all the information, if you follow, go on Facebook, Justice for Jack Walker, and all the information is there to find out for yourself. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm going to wind up now, guys. I'm going to thank everybody that's hung around, everybody that turned up today. Just spoke to the police liaison officers, and the incidents that happened early on have not been attributed to us. Sadly, there have been some arrests. October the 13th, we're going to be in London, so anybody that can turn up and come down would be very much appreciated. Thank you, guys.